I'm Renuka Kirpalani, you're watching Autocar India and you're with me in sunny Goa to test drive a brand new car. This is the Citroen C3. Now Citroen came to India in 2021 with their flagship SUV, the C5, and we did bring you that review. But you may not have seen too many of them out on the road, so you may be unfamiliar with the brand. But Citroen are about to change that. This is their big shot at the Indian market. This is a car that's made in India for India. So with high levels of localization, you can expect it to be very competitively priced. Now, at the time of going to this review, we don't know the prices yet, but we expect it to be between 5.5 lakhs to around 8 lakh rupees. Around about there. That makes it sound pretty interesting, doesn't it? Well, it's going to go up against the likes of the Punch, the Kiger, the Ignis, the Magnite. So what can it do? Does it have what it takes? Well, stay tuned because through this review, I'm going to talk you through the exterior, the interior, what features it has, how it drives, how it handles. Now, before I dive into the looks, do remember to hit the subscribe button and click on the bell icon to get notified every time we load a brand new interesting video like this.
Smoke up, gas in the blem, free up the guys, then dip out the ends. Jump in the ride, then burn out the rims, don't stop, don't clutch the button.
So the C3 is based off the CMP modular platform that will spawn a range of other products, including a more upright compact SUV, which is why Citroen are calling this a hatchback with a twist. It is under 4 meters long to avail of the tax benefits, but it also has a reasonably large 2,540mm wheelbase. It's a quirky design and quite fresh and different from others in the segment. The nose carries the chevron logo in the double slat grille, and each slat extends out into a DRL, so you have double DRLs on either side, looking like the mathematical greater than or less than signs. And they encase the headlamps. Lower down, there is a large air dam which has a brush finish section, so it does have a kind of butch look.
Ready to go and jump in.
Around the side, you do realize it sits reasonably high off the ground with 180mm of ground clearance, and it rides on 15-inch wheels. Now, while our test car had the steel wheels, the unveiled car had a swanky set of pinwheel alloys which will come at an additional cost as an accessory. There are also 6 dual-tone options which look funky, and while the surfacing looks clean and curvaceous, black cladding around the arches, along the bottom of the doors and around the windows give it a sporty air. In the dual-tone versions, coloured accents are on the roof, half of the side mirrors and the little vent-like feature under the front door, as well as the fog surrounds. The rear is a clean surface with lamps that curve around the sides with the brand name engraved, and there is a beefy rear bumper with a fake skid plate. Now, while Citroen prefer to say a hatchback with a twist, this certainly aims to play some part SUV with its higher clearance, black cladding, roof rails and beefy details. And like I said, it does stand out as a different and unique design. In fact, I quite like its looks. Now, at 315 litres, it's not the largest of boots, but you can get a fair amount of luggage in. We've packed in 3 trolleys, a backpack, my handbag, and there still is room for more. I think you could get 2 to 3 trolleys more in here quite comfortably, and if I remove the cover, probably even more luggage. So you can pack a fair amount into the back of the Citroen C3. However, the loading lip is high and the bin is deep, so you will have to haul your luggage over and in. If you do need to open up more room, you could fold the entire rear seat down as there's no split fold. There are small straps on either side that have to be pulled to fold this seat, and as you need to pull both of them together to release the seat, you will have to walk to either side before you can get that seat down. Now, you can also remove the entire backrest altogether for a flatter loading floor. Well, what do you think of the looks and the boot space? Leave us a comment. But for now, let's get inside and take a deeper look at the space and what you get. On the inside of the Citroen C3 is quite a funky interior. Now, I'm in the dual-tone version, and this has the accent color that runs right across the dash in this large, chunky ridge. When I saw it in the pictures, I thought this would be shiny and metallic and quite plasticky, but honestly, once you get inside, it doesn't look like that at all. It's matte finished, it has this dimple texture, and it is plastic, but the quality is quite good. In fact, all over the cabin, I think the plastic quality is quite good, better than you expect. Even this metallic finish that runs below the aircon vents, it is plastic, but it doesn't look shiny or tacky. So I think, yeah, overall, it's better than I expected it to be. You have the large aircon vents that sit on either side. and of course central ones over here. You have the 10-inch touchscreen, which is quite nice and big. It's very responsive to touch, and it does have features like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto that can be connected wirelessly. But honestly, when we first got into the car and we tried to connect it wirelessly, Apple CarPlay just didn't kick off. It got hung on the radio. It wouldn't even go into media. Then we had to restart the car, reboot the system, and then of course it functioned fine. And now, ever since then, it's been working completely well. Graphics are also quite crisp and sharp and clear. For the dials, you have a digital display. The MID does not have a tachometer, it just gives you the speedometer. You have, of course, the amount of kilometers you've run, the fuel gauge, the temperature gauge. Now, below the aircon vents, you have the rotary dials that are for the AC functions. You have a USB charger, you have the 12 volt, and you have lots of storage as well. There is a shelf that's up here. Below that, there is a deep bin. You have the cup holders as well. Behind the gear lever and under the handbrake, there is another storage bin. You have a storage bin that's at the back as well. Now, while I'm at the back there, the window buttons for the rear windows are actually placed back here. It's a little further back than I would like, but then that makes it easy to access for both rear and front passengers. The buttons are not in the most ideal position, and they would be better placed on the doors. Glove box is also quite nice and large, so you have storage there as well. Door pockets can store a 1-liter bottle, and there's enough space, and there is a little slot over here as well. Interestingly, below this touchscreen, there is a slot here, and I was wondering what it is for, but it is for an accessory. That's a phone holder. So you can get that as an accessory, and it actually has nice grooves over here where you can tuck your wires around this side so that they don't float around the car, which is quite a nice unique feature, but pretty ironic because you can connect via Bluetooth and wirelessly, so you really don't need to have your phone up here as well. What I found on the way here is that the music system works really well. It is quite nice, and even the AC, it cools you down instantly. Get into the car, especially on a hot day like this, turn the AC blowers on, and it cools you down instantly. The seats themselves also quite comfortable. They're a bit narrow, but they have bolstering and good enough under thigh support. Seating position is nice. You've got a lot of range of adjust, so for someone like me, I can get the seat nice up high. Window area is nice and big, so visibility is very good. Steering is nice, and yeah, I think that's it. Of course, there is a bit of cost cutting, and I'm going to show you those features right now. You take a look at that while I switch on this AC and cool myself down. While quality around the cabin is better than expected, there are areas where materials are not the best or features are missing. The roof lining is felt, the ORVM adjusters are manual and very spindly, there's no grab handle for the front passenger, and the bonnet release knob is very old-fashioned and cheap looking. The instrument panel may be digital, but it's super basic and old school. There is no tachometer, and in fact, hygiene features like rear wipers or rear defogger and reverse cameras are also missing. It has only parking sensors. To unlock the doors, you have to use the switches near the handles, as there's no central lock-unlock as well, and there is no auto AC function. As mentioned earlier, alloys are not standard either, so this is quite an extensive list of misses. Well, you saw what it doesn't have, but let's take a look at the features and what it does come with. It gets the basics like dual airbags, ABS and reverse parking sensors. It does comply with Indian crash test standards, but is yet to be rated by global NCAP. Now that I'm sufficiently cool and you've taken a look at all the features, I'm going to jump into the back seat and tell you what that's like. While opening and closing the doors, I noticed that they are quite light, and then you do realize that this is a car that's engineered to a cost. Okay, so I'm going to get Ashley actually to sit in this back seat now. Ashley, our photographer, is a lot taller than me, and he's put the seat in his driving position, and as you can see, he has quite a lot of knee room over here. Ashley, can you stretch your feet out underneath? Yeah, there's enough space for Ashley to stretch his feet out underneath. Headroom is pretty good as well. They have scooped out the back of it, and in fact, the roof line is scooped out in portions. Only the beams remain. So there is enough headroom as well. Under thigh support is pretty good. Well, I'm going to come around and sit in the middle and see how it would be for the third passenger as well. So yeah, let me try that out. Okay, so I'm going to put 3 passengers in here and see exactly how it is. Let's close that door. Honestly, 3 of us could fit in here. It is a bit of a tight squeeze in shoulder space. We're really quite jammed in as far as that. And me as the 3rd passenger, I can't get my feet in up here. I do need to put them on either side of the central tunnel because the console comes quite far back to the rear. You do have 2 USB ports here for the rear passengers. There are pockets behind the seats. Door pockets can store 1-liter bottles. There's a slot in the pocket as well. You're seated nice and high, so visibility to the front is good. You kind of get elevated and see beyond the front seats despite their integrated headrests. Visibility is still good. Even the rear seats have integrated headrests, and there's no headrest of course for the 3rd passenger, but there is seat belts for all 3 passengers, and you do have grab handles at the rear for the passengers too. Ergonomically, it's easy to settle into a nice driving position. The seat has a lot of height adjustment, so you can get that SUV kind of feel from behind the wheel. Visibility is really good. Glass area is nice and wide, as I said earlier. The Citroen C3 will come with 2 petrol engines options, both 1.2 litre. One is naturally aspirated and the other a turbo variant. Both of them will be mated to manual gearboxes. A 5-speed manual for the naturally aspirated engine and a 6-speed manual for the turbo variant. The Citroen C3 will not have a diesel variant, and at launch there will be no automatic variant as well. I'm driving the 1.2 litre turbo petrol first. This has 110 PS and 190 Nm of torque, and that gives it the best power figures amongst its competitors. And Citroen are claiming best in segment performance with a 10-second 0 to 100. Now we think that segment is the Magnite and Kiger, which are the other 2 turbos around. So that would hold true, but eventually pricing will determine where this product actually sits. They are also claiming a 19.4 kilometers per litre fuel efficiency, which is good for the power it offers. Now real world figures will differ, and we will let you know when we give it a thorough test. But for now, it's how it feels out on the road. It gets off the line smartly, but the clutch release is a bit sharp, so it takes a little while getting used to it. The clutch is snappy, especially when you're starting off, so you might find yourself leaping forward a bit too sharply before you get the hang of it. Once you know where that release point is, you need to be a little more gentle with it. And the numbers on paper do translate out onto the road. It does feel sprightly. Put your foot down. It always serves you up power. The spread of power is nice and wide, so you can even put it in a higher gear, slow down, amble around, and get a move on again quite easily. So yeah, it is very easy to drive. Overtakes come easily. Nipping in and out of traffic gaps will be easy as well. It's always got the power to serve up when you need it. The turbo is a responsive engine that will be good city or highway. Power build-up tapers off at the top end, but you can get to reasonable 3-digit speeds easily, where it cruises comfortably in 5th or 6th. Yes, the turbo is mated to a 6-speed manual. On the refinement front, it is a typical 3-cylinder. There's a small amount of vibration at idle, and it does get gruffer as you push hard, but honestly, it's never intrusive. The gearbox is nice and light, and so is the clutch. So yeah, driving this in traffic conditions, even in the city, will be easy. Overall, the turbo engine performance is very impressive, and it makes the C3 really enjoyable to drive. I really like the way that this car handles. It goes around the corners well. Yeah, if you push it hard, the tires do squeal. There is a bit of body roll, but there is ample grip. And in fact, on a winding section of road, lots of them we've gone through in Goa, this feels very nice to drive. Changes of direction come easily and the steering gives you a confident feel. The Citroen C3 has a sure-footed feel. Ride quality is something else that is quite exceptional. It is the DNA of Citroen to have that flying carpet-like ride. And even when the roads are really bad underneath, there is a pliancy to this. It's like that swan, you know, where it's got its feet ferrying underneath, but it seems to glide over the surface of the water. Well, that's the similar feeling in here. You know the suspension's working away, but you don't hear it. And as a passenger, you just don't feel what's going on under the tires. It is a very smooth ride. While the feature list of the Citroen C3 left us wanting, the turbo variant had us impressed with its performance, ride and handling. And it was time to shift over to the naturally aspirated variant. So I've jumped into the naturally aspirated 1.2 litre now. This has 82 PS. And yeah, you can definitely feel the difference in power. Obviously, it's not as responsive as the turbo was. And the mid-range isn't really strong, so it will keep you working the gears. While it gets off the line smartly, power comes in higher in the range. And since there was no tachometer, I had to give it a guesstimate. And I would say it's around 2000 RPM. So on the go, if you slow down and get below that, you will need to shift down to get a move on. But when you do work the gears, you'll find that it performs adequately well. The clutch is light and easy enough to use. Now, while the turbo has a 6-speed manual, this has a 5-speed. And I have to say it's not quite as smooth as the one in the turbo. So I'm keeping it simple to sum it up. We are comparing the Citroen C3 to the likes of the Punch, the Kiger, the Ignis and the Magnite. So when you compare those on features, this does lack on equipment. Instead of doing it smartly and using a surgical knife, they've gone at it with a hacksaw, leaving you wanting. And while they may have a very smartly priced base variant, what you have to know is that it's bare bones in terms of equipment. Now, Citroen have done this in the bid to offer a very competitively priced car. And if they do give knockout pricing, one can look past its feature list. It is uniquely styled inside and out, which will differentiate it from the rest. But more than anything else, once you get behind the wheel, it will surprise you. The turbo engine is a delight to drive and ride comfort is one of its biggest strengths. So the more time you spend with the Citroen C3 behind the wheel, the more you will enjoy it, which is exactly what my experience has been.